Hey guys, what's up? It's Jimmy, and today I'm going to be doing a video review of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. And this is probably going to be one of my favorite reviews, and probably my best reviews I've ever done. I've put a lot of work into this, and I'm really hoping you enjoy it. So without further ado, let's begin. So it was the summer of 2003, and I'm 6 years old. I'm a little shy, I still kinda am, but at the time I was very shy. So I was at a summer camp, and I'm sitting in the cafeteria watching Space Jam, minding my own business, alone. I was a shy little kid, and then a kid comes over to me and asks me if I have a Mudkip. I had a Pikachu t-shirt on, so I'm sure for him it was safe to assume I was a Pokemon fan, and I really was. So when this kid asked me if I could trade him a Mudkip, I was a little confused, and then he showed me Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire on his GameBoy Advance, and I was immediately excited. So when I went home, I asked my dad to drive me to the store, and I got my very own GameBoy Advance SP and Pokemon Ruby version. And that very next day, I traded, I battled, I did a bunch of cool stuff, and I made quite a few good friends, which I actually don't remember any of their names, and I don't think they knew mine either. But that's not the point, I got to play Pokemon. Story time's over, so let's actually get on with the review and actually talk about the games themselves. Let's take a look at Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire for the Game Boy Advance. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire were released in North America on March 19th, 2003 for the Game Boy Advance. They introduced a total of 135 new Pokemon species to the series, as well as abilities, natures, and the new Pokemon contests. Berries were also brought back, but changed to benefit both Pokemon battles and contests. There was another feature where you could decorate secret bases around the region, and another feature which was a whole new style of battling called double battles. This is where two Pokemon from each side would battle at one time. This wasn't used as much as it could have been, and was pushed a lot more in Colosseum and XD, as well as a little bit more in Emerald. But those are reviews for another time. Unfortunately, these games were released at a bad time. As much as fans really wanted sequels to Pokemon Gold and Silver, this is actually where many of them left the series. For many, it had nothing to do with the actual game, and it was more the backlash of the Pokemon craze coming to its end. Many fans saw Pokemon as silly, stupid, and childish, and didn't want to be associated with it, fearing looking uncool. Many of my friends who were older at the time and actually got me into the Pokemon series itself were some of those fans that left after Gold and Silver, and had no interest in playing the Generation 3 games. Other fans left the series because of the distaste with the new designs of the Pokemon. The removal of animated sprites from Crystal, although it was fixed in Emerald, was another reason why many fans don't like these games. The fact that there's no longer the day and night aesthetics, and that they can't transfer old Pokemon from previous generations to this one, also had a factor in this. This is due to the difference in hardware of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance. However, this issue was fixed with the releases of Fire Red, Leaf Green, Emerald, Colosseum, and XD, where each game had Pokemon from various regions to capture to help you complete the Pokédex. Another reason you couldn't trade up your Pokemon from Red version to Ruby version was because of the difference in the IV system implemented in Generation 3. Your older Pokemon that you caught in Red version wouldn't be able to match up stat-wise to the Pokemon you caught in Ruby. Now you're probably saying to yourself, Jimmy, these games sound like they really suck. Why do you like them so much? Well, I have a lot of reasons, and we'll get to those as we move on. The story of these games revolves around you, a kid who's just recently moved to the Hoenn region from your old home in Johto. You could be either the male trainer, Brendan, or the female trainer, May. When you arrive in Little Root Town, you walk around and visit your neighbors. Soon, you find that a Poochyena is attacking Professor Verch, the Hoenn region's most famous Pokemon professor. You reach into his bag and pull out a Pokemon to help him out. You could choose from 3 Pokemon. There's the Grass-type Trico, the Fire-type Torchic, and the Water-type Mudkip. Each are very unique and awesome. After you save him, you get the Pokemon you picked from the bag as a gift, and go find your rival, which is his child. Once all this is out of the way, it's time for you to begin your epic adventure. Throughout your quest to beat every gym leader, become the champion, and catch every Pokemon the Hoenn region has to offer, you'll be tasked with taking down either Team Magma for Ruby version, or Team Aqua for Sapphire version. This is the first time there are 2 evil teams, and it's up to the player to decide which side they're on. Are you for expanding the land like Team Magma, or expanding the sea like Team Aqua? Ultimately, both sides are pretty much complete BS, and you're the one who has to clean up the mess that Team Aqua or Magma created by capturing either Groudon or Kyogre, whichever version you have. This is one epic story, and I'm surprised many people don't like it. I also noticed that Generation 3 has a theme. Generation 1 was very much about science and technology. Generation 2 was about history and legends. Generation 3 is about the balance of nature and how disrupting this balance, as Team Magma and Aqua were doing, could cause major problems. The graphics of these games are a huge step up from the previous generations on the Game Boy Color. With the 32-bit power of the Game Boy Advance compared to the 8-bit power of the Game Boy Color, Hoenn is very bright and colorful, especially since Hoenn, with its rainforests and deserts, and the Pokemon that call it home, are themed around a tropical climate. This boost in the looks department really helps the game out a lot. We're also introduced to the new weather changes in the overworld. On some routes it'll be raining all the time, or there's a sandstorm going on, and these will affect the battles that take place in these areas. The graphics weren't the only thing to be improved on with this new hardware. The music quality was much higher in these games. I'm not trying to bash the nostalgic 8-bit tunes of generations 1 and 2 here, but Hoenn's music is amazing. You can hear the sounds of real instruments, especially trumpets, in every song. Many of the songs I can still hum to or whistle along to perfectly today. The designs of the Pokemon in this generation are really good in my opinion. One thing I don't like is when people say, that doesn't look like a Pokemon. What should a Pokemon look like? There are hundreds of them. There are all different ways for them to look. Some of my personal favorite Pokemon from this generation are Trico, Breloom, Tropius, Swellow, Minun, Metagross, and my favorite Pokemon of all time, Blaziken. Like many of the other generations until just recently, each of the 2 initial games are released and then are combined into a super mega awesome version a year or 2 later. For Generation 1 it was Yellow, and technically Blue as well in Japan. For Generation 2 it was Crystal, and now in Generation 3 we get Pokemon Emerald. It added a new battle frontier, the ability to find some Johto Pokemon in the post-game, and the return of animated sprites when Pokemon are released from their Pokeballs. As many good things I have to say about Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, I also have some bad. Like I said in the beginning, many features were removed like nighttime and animated sprites. I'm not sure if it was just because the development team weren't used to the new hardware at the time, or weren't sure how far they could push the system with all these features in them, but I still think they should have been included. All in all, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire are really great games. I give them both each an 8 out of 10. To some, my score may be a little too high or a little too low, but it's my opinion and that's where I think the game stands nowadays. They hold up pretty well, and I can't believe it's almost been 10 years since they were released. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you're new to my channel and you like what you saw, please feel free to click that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Once again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.